to ban.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Mars TV Dota 2 League Winter Series. We're in tiebreakers now. We've been able to do it, make it through the group stages, but still not all has been decided yet, as Newbee and EG from Group A are tied up for 3rd and 4th place, respectively, trying to see if they are going to be able to make their way onto the next stage in the lower bracket or in the upper bracket. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Blaze Casting. Blaze, we've been following different games, but the same tournament. What are your impressions so far of these two teams here?
Well, of course, EG have shown some great strength in some other matchups, but today was kind of a disappointment for them. Go up against Vici Gaming, it was some pretty quick wins for Vici, and just overall, it seemed like that was the team that had the better team cohesion. EG definitely need to kind of look to shape up for this game here. As like you said, it's so important. It's a single best of 1 that essentially determines a playoff best of 3 result, because the team that takes this will be moving to the upper bracket. The team that loses it, of course, going to the lower bracket. It's very consequential for either team's fate here, and could signal an early elimination for either one. But already jumping into the draft here, I'm really excited to see how this kind of pans out. A lot of bans most recently in the tournament have been targeted towards Universe here. We see the Lunge Druid, and now this is Void banned out by B, so they do have a lot of respect for Universe offlane. And meanwhile, PPD just seems to be wanting to take out the OD whenever he... In general, they just don't prefer that hero. Sumail has such a good flexibility with like 3 or 4 other dominating mid heroes. They don't need the OD, they take care of it, and they instead go for the Earth Spirit here for fear.
Yeah, this is pretty good. I like the draft. I think that we've been seeing a little bit more of a, I want to say, like, fine-tune of the meta slightly. There's still so many different variable options as far as how you want to things, but I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing that Night Stalker. That's something that Newbee was running pretty consistently, and it does look like they're going to want to pick that up. The Iron Talon, just feel like this is such a natural item for this hero. I remember when we were casting in the Shanghai major qualifiers together that it was a bit of a revelation that this item just works so well with this guy.
Absolutely, and they have a couple ways they can run it. Sometimes they'll run it as a support. More often you'll see it in Zhao Tulei's hands in the off lane, but they're not giving away too much information just with that pick alone. And they'll probably just pick up a support alongside it. They could go with obviously a like mid pick here early. They really want to prioritize a certain hero. Some teams prioritizing heroes like Death Prophet and such. Newbee actually picked up an early lean last time, which obviously has some interesting potential with early ganks and early damage output, but might leave some vulnerabilities here. So as far as, of course, the reason we're in this tiebreaker is because these two teams tied. So last time we got to see Newbee actually get the Earth Spirit and the OD. Neither one is in their hands this time around. But on the other hand, of course, we do see the Bat Rider is still in the pool, and I think that's their contemplation. Is the Night Stalker pickup enough to scare off Universe picking the Bat, and maybe edge him into something like the Furion?
Well, that's certainly an option. The thing is, they've already been able to take or ban out the Vengeful Spirit, so if they wanted to go back for that Bat Rider in the second phase here, you're going to be able to take that Oracle out of the pool. Also, those two heroes that really heavily counter that. Of course, the Invoker, I mean, why the heck not? This hero has been seeing a ton of play, and the fact that you can get him in the second round of the first pick is great here. Ancient Apparition, though, this was not what I'm expecting. This is more often than not what I've seen, at least, is in response to heavy push lineups. Do you think that this is just because they're trying to build something that's built around magical damage, or do you think this might end up turning into one of those global strategies? What do you feel like is the reason behind the Ancient Apparition pick here?
I went through with a pretty good matchup here. Puck versus Invoker. Puck plus Ancient Apparition, you get the Dream Coil, you get the Ice Blast. Those two go hand in hand really well. In general, Ancient Apparition, these are two heroes that really change the game and the scope of the game when they get their Aghanim Scepters. The Night Stalker, obviously, the vision aspect, being able to clear out wards so effectively with the Gem of True Sight, starting to dominating the map, compared to the AA, who is just able to enhance his ultimate to incredible degree, where PPD, he usually picks a healing hero, something that can help sustain his team, maybe get a little push going. Well, the Ancient Apparition really shuts that idea down, and it's going to force PPD into something that is less comfortable with. So overall, it's not like the most critical pick of this draft, and they're not picking it because it's such a high tier hero. It's because it limits EG's strats and it doesn't reveal anything from Newbee's intentions.
And that seems to be a pretty strong one there. The one problem, obviously, is going to be that somewhat lack of control, and they're going to need to remedy that. Maybe, like you said, through that puck later on, but at least for now, the Nyx Assassin is going to be banned out, as well as that Clockwork. Having that Invoker in the pool, it just feels like that Nyx Assassin is always so strong at being able to burn away the mana and wreck somebody's life and day. And also, the other nice little part of it is I think it's a pretty good counter to Earth Spirit, just because Magnetize and all those other things, you run into a Spike Carapace, and the hero's effectiveness is much less potent. I guess another question that I have is, going into this, it feels like EG would traditionally be the favorite, but Newbee have been playing really strong recently. Where do you rate these two teams relative to each other? Obviously, they're tied, but how much can we read into that?
It's tough. I mean, obviously, like I said, EG are off to a rough start today. They're definitely a team that can bounce back and learn from their losses very effectively, but it's also a 0-2 right out the gate for them, so not too happy. Maybe the team dynamic isn't great, but I would still rate this as 60-40 in EG's favor. Like you said, although the current ratings leave them tied, although Chuan is really ushering new life into this Newbee lineup, I still would say that EG are the stronger team overall, and Newbee are going to have to prove something here. Of course, best of one, so it makes it all the easier to just take that one game away. But already EG, like, PBD started a lot of foresight in the draft here, just kind of laying the groundwork for his next game plan. It looks like he wants a Blink Initiator for his team. Obviously, like, the Spectre is a hero that can really mess with that. And it also goes hand in hand with the global strat. The Ancient Apparition Spectre, really strong. And apparently, in his mind, is more dangerous than the Ancient Apparition Zeus. They let the Zeus slip through if Newbee do want to grab that. It's not a very common move pickup, but it has seen a couple of times. And actually, I think could consider the Batrider, to be honest with you. The pickoff potential, the Lasso and Sunstrike combo is a lot of value, and generally speaking, is the exorbitant.
No, definitely. I think that would be really freaking good there, and being able to make those kills happen. Obviously, the danger there is, that you get to the late stages of the game, and Night Stalk with Aghanims and Gem can really limit the effectiveness, but if you're able to make it work. And this is a hero, I was about to talk about it, Chuan's Rubik. I saw him play a match the other day against Team Spirit, and he just looked unbelievably good. The most impressive to me about the game that I watched against Spirit was that they placed such a heavy emphasis on shutting down the off lane by moving on up and blocking the camp. It was Chuan, it was the Newbee on the Radiant side, and they were able to, after the initial battle for runes, just walk up to the high ground there, place down a ward, and it was against an Enchantress, and she couldn't do anything. She literally couldn't kill him before he could place the ward.
Much more important in that kind of a matchup, in particular. Like, the Enchantress is a hero that depends on that camp so much, so I think it's just overall good game sense from Newbee and Chuan in particular.
Yeah, and I think that this is a hero he feels really comfortable on, and these are the Earth Spirit, not always the best spells still, but some of them are pretty cool. I really feel like if he has a good game, the Newbee squad can sort of rally around that. And we've seen Rubik's get out of control in this patch, particularly with this, you've got Nullfield here, which is going to give you the magical resistance against these heroes once you get towards that mid game. I think it could even be worth it taking a point in that as opposed to like a third point in telekinesis.
Interesting. All right, so we're going to be seeing the Universe Darkseer here. I talked about this a lot during Starlight, or at least tweeted about it. A Darkseer Earth Spirit is an incredible combo. You get the Ion Shell in the laning phase, the double Ion Shell potentially. Earth Spirit closes distance really easily with the Rolling Boulder, potentially keeps them close with the Orb of Venom, and makes it very difficult to manage in that offlane situation. But even better is when they hit the mid to late game stride. The Vacuum plus the Boulder Smash, that synergy is just such a perfect combo. You could get a line stun on everybody, and we've seen it time and time again used by Team Liquid. Although it wasn't enough to win them the tournament, it definitely was one of the most impressive displays of coordination that I saw from the Western scene, and I hope to see Evil Geniuses emulate it here. But Newbee, they're going for some tried and true picks here. Ancient Apparition, Rubik, and Night Stalker are actually all three really good against Morphling, so kind of laying the groundwork for pseudo-denial picks, taking all these heroes out of the pool so that Morphling can wade right into it, we're actually going to be seeing a really strong Morphling game from How, I would believe. And maybe have to actually have a bit of deviation now. Although Vacuum makes your Meteor Deafening Blast all that more powerful, you might have to consider something like a Wex-Voker with Orchid instead.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to be able to see that. And obviously, Morphling's eventually going to go for that Lincoln Sphere. But here we go. Big guns coming out. Lycan going to be taken. Now, this is... we've seen Lycan be really potent in this tournament, particularly with the buffs that he gets to all of the Necro books across the board. Do you think that this is going to be one of those builds where, even if you do end up going for the Wex Invoker, possibly going back for that Necro book to be able to get the extra damage from them critting onto heroes?
Yeah, and I think that this actually would advocate more for the Invoker going forward Spirit build-up, just having all that push momentum, all those summons to play around with. Ancient Apparition's Ice Blast at level 1 really doesn't do that much in terms of counter push. Obviously, adding in a Fade Bolt or something, a Waveform, of course, would all make that more possible. But right now, if they get the Forge Spirits, the Necros, the Wolves, it's going to be difficult for Newbee to deal with. Now, I will note that both the Chen and the Enchantress are still in the pool. I think that that's actually a pretty important pick here for Evil Geniuses if they want to go for one of the two.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of Chen plays here out of EG. I'm really surprised that it stuck around that long. I think either one of those would be great here. Does PPD... Who plays the Enchantress for EG? I guess it depends. A lot of people run it, I would imagine.
I mean, I've seen Universe do a lot of pub games with it personally, like in the off lane. But in this case, it would probably be PPD. Same with the Chen. I expect Chen to be a stronger pick here, though. The Enchantress can be burst down by magical damage pretty heavily, when obviously UCB has plenty of that. So, and now the Tiny on top. Yeah, you don't want an Enchantress here. So I would say probably go for the Chen, and they're gonna have a really good lineup. The only weird thing is Darkseer and the Chen both go for the mechanism. Maybe the Darkseer just picks up a Vanguard or something weird just to enable all their heroes to hit the same item timing.
Or a pipe, or a blink dagger. There's a lot of different options here, and I don't. I think that would be great. Obviously, the most recent nerf to Chen, where you don't get the cooldown on the Aghanim Scepter upgraded ulti, not very important in the early stages before you would end up picking up an Aghanim Scepter anyways. So his early game is just as strong as it was before. The Tiny in the mid roll is what I'm going to assume, and they actually go back for the Lion. Okay, just a more lockdown and ability to zone out more. What's the thought here?
The perfect pick against Morphling. Worried about Hao's Morphling, which personally I don't think he's the strongest Morphling player in China. There's so many big names in terms of carry players that pick a Morphling time and time again and do amazing work with it. But if they are afraid of Hao's Morphling, the Lion is the pick, because the Hex is the perfect counter to all of Morphling spells, including his toggle of more strength, and then the burst of magical damage is really essential as well. So no, Lion obviously has the Earth Spike synergy with the Vacuum of Universe, so all in all, a great pick. And of course, the one drawback of the Chen, that Hand of God up against Ice Blast, not too great. So while the Chen give them the tempo they need and give them the opportunity to push with the Lycanthrope, with the Forge Spirits, and get some real momentum underneath them and start kind of controlling Newbee space, playing their own game plan against them. I do feel like this Lion pick is going to give them a little bit more throughput in terms of actually addressing the enemy carry.
Every now and then these things do happen to happen. Game is paused. Okay, so it wasn't just me then.
Yeah. Everybody just getting started here, but
Wonderful.
It looks like we are going to get underway pretty quickly here. Overall, between the two drafts, it's hard to tell what Moo's going to be able to accomplish on this Tiny. I really think it does come down to what Newbee can get out of the laning phase. Overall, I think EG's lineup is better, well-rounded. They're going to be able to take objectives, but also take critical fights. And all they really need is for Universe to get some levels. If the Universe doesn't get completely shut down the laning stage, and he really shouldn't, the Rubik is kind of annoying in terms of the surge. Like he telekinesis the surge to cancel it out, but you have to already have the Ancient Apparition right there with the Chilling Touch on the Rubik in order for that to be all that threatening. So I think Universe, if he gets a good ward down, nice map drawing, PPD, but or that's actually Sumail, but even still, Universe, I feel like if he gets the ward down, he gets it to stick. he shouldn't have too many troubles in the offlane, which means he's going to get that vacuum and that mech out at a pretty early time for their lineup. So overall, I favor EG's lineup, but it comes down to execution for NewBee if they can make the early ganks happen, especially at nighttime.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be seeing if indeed they're going to be able to make that happen as we move on out here at the very start. Quick little introductions for everybody. Fear is going to be playing that Earth Spirit, heading on up to block the off-lane camp. And meanwhile, we are going to have Arteezy playing on the Lycan towards the mid lane. Sumail is going to be on his Invoker. PPD is going to be playing the Lion. And last but not least, over towards the off-lane Universe playing the Darkseer.
Of course, looking over the side of NewBee, we've got Lei running on the Ancient Aberration. Usually runs the 5-position support, so maybe we get to see Chuan take a bigger role here on the Rubik, who's actually going boots first to start. So a very poor man, Ancient Apparition, but the Rubik might be able to get a lot of value here. Mu is going to be taking that mid lane Tiny, just with the Stout Shield and Fairy Fire to start, where she got Zhao Tu Lei on the off-lane Night Stalker. A lot of HP regen and the Stout Shield to survive as well. And that will leave Hao to the safe lane with the Morphling. We do see that block was successful. The ward will be making sure that that camp does not spawn, as well as giving some good information. But more importantly, we see the smoke movement, and they're not wrapping into the jungle until the last possible second. So if you have like a support waiting here to break a smoke with a Observer ward active, he's actually going to be caught in anyways. So really subtle, yet improved movement from NewBee here from some of their normal smoke ganks, and maybe taking a lesson out of their secondary team. NewBee Young always goes for these smoke plays, always goes for these level 1 movements, and they succeed in great capacities. But looks like in this case it will be EG to just hold their reserves, not falling for it, and probably should just be a 1-for-1 on the bounty runes.
Yeah, seems reasonable as they head on out there. We are going to get a quick little look as Arteezy spots the rune and realizes he's probably not going to be able to take that one and heads on down towards the bottom lane. And of course, these things do happen to happen. Hex D indeed, Mr. Arteezy, as the game ends up getting paused, and we're going to get ready to get going here. Sumail going to pick up the Invoker bounty rune. So the mid matchup, Invoker versus Tiny, it doesn't really feel like we're going to be able to have a whole heck of a lot of kills in this lane unless Invoker gets out of position. Running for that Forge Spirits build that we're expecting to see, it leaves him a little bit more susceptible to ganks, but he will still have cold snap available to activate. Do you think he ends up going for that point in Wex to be able to unlock Alacrity as well as being able to go for the Ghost Walk?
I do think Alacrity brings a lot of value, and most Invokers will, but the last 2 times that I've seen Sumail play Invoker, he actually skips Alacrity for a very long time. Doesn't pick it up till like level 9 or 10. So he seems confident just with the bonus damage he gets just from the raw Exort Orbs, and we'll see if that's the build that he goes for. Again, there is some value here if he just wants to go for the Wex Orchid, but more likely it's going to be a lot of Quas and Exort, and then probably level 9 picking a Wex, probably a 404, and then unlocking the Wex as soon as he needs it. But I really think it comes down less to the Invoker mispositioning and Chuan over-positioning. If there's a way that Chuan can sneak his way onto the Radiant side, get a Telekinesis lift, throw the Invoker into the river, that could be an Invoker tossed back all the way to the dire side of the map. Like that, there's actually some real potential here of repositioning the Invoker thanks to the Telekinesis, thanks to the Tiny Toss. And I feel like NewBee have the potential coordination to do that because this is Chuan we're talking about. Like, ganking mid is the name of his game. He's done it on so many different heroes, and Rubik is definitely among them.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely feels like if you have a player that can make those early rotations, that's really where he's there to shine. And 1.5 seconds of lift coming out from that Telekinesis, even followed up by just any type of throwback, it should be able to get a kill. Sort of the lightweight IO, if you will, where you can get the tether slow coming out from it also. But time will tell. I think that Sumail obviously is going to be very aware of this and going to try and make that his position is pretty good. I think also the point about the Alacrity being picked up a little bit later on, does he opt to take a second point in Cold Snap then because of that, or does he just go for maxed out Exort?
Well, I mean, he's still going to have the Quas, I think, this game. He usually prioritizes Exort whenever he can, but in this case, like I said, I think he wants the 404. The 4 Spirits Owl
Yeah.
Just pummel heroes so hard that obviously they'll break down the armor with each attack, and then they hit harder and harder thanks to the benefit from the lycanthropes. So, just all in all, I think that that's the build in this kind of situation. You're going to get your Midas out pretty quickly, and you're still going to be able to push in spite of that. Like, normally, a hero is considered weak right when he picks up his Midas because it doesn't really get the value, but because Invoker's so level dependent, and because he usually hits the Force Spirit timing right around then, he still gets his farm speed increase. He still gets his push potential optimized. So I really do think that there's good value in the Forge build in this particular game.
Yeah. Well, the thing to also keep in mind here that I've just been sort of mulling around in my head since we have this moment to talk is that Tiny, obviously craggy exterior, incredibly good. A lot of the damage sources coming out from EG are going to be that right-click damage, not always from just the Lycan and stuff, but also those Necronomicons and everybody just causing a little bit of trouble for him. Do you think that that's something that's going to be relatively important here? I mean, obviously you get a little bit of extra armor coming out from craggy exterior on top of the damage being dealt back and the stun that comes out. How relevant is that in this game?
It's okay. The Invoker's going to keep his distance. The Lycanthrope's going to have BKB when he's right on top of him. It will most likely stun some of those neutral creeps, or not neutral creeps necessarily, but summoned creeps if they go on the Tiny. But most of the time, you're just going to see the Lycan go for the low armor supports. The Rubik, the Ancient Apparition, don't really have a good disengage from shapeshifted creeps from the Lycan. They just can tear through those low armor supports until Ghost Scepters come out. So I really expect the Tiny to be not really the focus here. We're definitely going to be seeing much more priority of Arteezy trying to kill off Chuan and Lei early in the fight, and then chasing down Hao thereafter. I want to talk about this Morphling a little bit here. They have shifted his laning configuration. Morphling, not a great matchup against the Darkseer. He does not really deal with the Ion Shells all that well, especially because of his short attack range. So moving him here, getting some support in the off in this kind of aggressive try situation, allows him to go for a very aggressive build we see a lot in China, which is starting off level 1 Morph instead of Waveform. And you see his strength to agi ratio is 10-33 on base. So it's already starting off with a lot of right-click damage here.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, you've got the control still coming out from Chuan, so you got to be really careful, particularly on this Lion. Your PPD, if he gets out of position at all, it definitely feels like they're going to be able to punish it. And in the meantime, we got the creeps we have been going up top. Universe with the Ion Shell on top of him, and Fear hang out, seeing if he can potentially find a kill on the Zhao Tulei. I definitely don't want to get caught out there, but it feels like it's going to need to be at least a couple of levels before they can. Well, Universe diving pretty deep here. They have the Ion Shell on top of him. They have double now. They're going to be able to have to force the rotation, and as they're coming on in, Rolling Boulder away, and Chuan, as much as he would love to be able to find that kill, isn't going to be able to pull him back.
This is actually really smooth from EG, just forcing Chuan to get out of the zone that he wants to be in, because I talked about that. We'll see a little bit Cold Snap harassment on Moo. He'll actually lose a lot of HP here, but it looks like he just got enough gold for his bottle, so doesn't really mind it too much. As it is, though, I really do feel the boots first Rubik, especially because EG have used their wards the way they have, blocking the Secret top spawn and covering up the top rune. They actually would not see any rotation on the Invoker unless there's a hero waiting for him. So I actually think that it's really important that they force at least one support to come up top, and it ends up being the Rubik, who now, of course, has made his way over to mid.
Interesting. Yeah, just to be able to soak up that little bit of extra experience while Mu goes down to get the bottle. Picks up a regeneration rune, not bad at all. But it's worth noting, they've kind of sacrificed at this point. Arteezy's just jungling. I mean, he's got his Iron Talon, is going to be able to move over there. Do you think there's any chance that we can see a rotation from somebody on the side of Newbee to punish this at all? Or it doesn't really feel like they have a great way to stop PPD from just farming in this lane.
Yeah, I don't think that's their core objective right now. As you hit level 2 or 3 in the Ancient Apparition, you get your Ice Vortex involved, and you just kind of scare the Lion off. He's not going to have boots for a while if he's upgrading the Courier, so he's kind of just playing the poor man support, trying to get what he can out of the lane, and playing it as safe as could be. But we're actually going to see a Rolling Boulder up top here on Chuan. Boots are there, but they're just going to be able to stun him and run him down with the Ion Shell. Very nice combo here. We've plenty of times between the Earth Spirit and the Darkseer, but a very important first blood drawn by Universe.
Nicely done there, and obviously being able to hand that on over to the offlaner is so important. He's going to be able to pick himself up his soul ring pretty quickly off the back of it. So a nice little rotation, a nice little kit, and I mean, you take a look at the net worth right now, it's going to be skyrocketing towards EG's favor, not only because of the kill, but also because they've been able to basically farm the 3 lanes and the jungle off the back of it. And I think that Arteezy here being able to just consistently farm, he might not be getting as much net worth as he would if he were just in lane, but maybe you end up getting a bit more on your lion now, as we do have the little kickback by Moo. Get out of here, he says, and walks away from him.
Some elemental vengeance, rock on rock action. Get out of here. He's the true earth spirit.
Most definitely. All right, well, it's looking pretty good. It still feels like there isn't a great impetus of either side to try and make a move, though. But we didn't mention this first Chuan. He's going to start rotating around. What is he looking to do in this game right now? It felt like he's been a bit without a home after that first rotation.
I mean, he's kind of looking to do a little bit of everything. As we've seen, he took the mid lane while the Tiny was grabbing a rune. He went up top, unfortunately got killed off. He's definitely looking for ganks, but right now I don't think the opportunity's really presented itself. So, yeah, he's just kind of trying to find the best opportunity. I think it is actually going to be on PPD bottom. PPD seems aware of it. Chuan still goes right through the tree line, and that should be a quick kill.
That's the danger right there, and able to take a kill there off the back of himself dying, which definitely helps out a lot. But we're still getting a lot onto this Lion here, 11-1 currently, and I mean, I guess it's not as much as you would have hoped considering he did just die, but I'm feeling pretty good about this, and actually throws an Iron Shell onto Lei, so Ancient Apparition has to stay away from his friends for right now.
Yeah, a little awkward. But, you know, at this point, right now, Lei, he would love to just keep on chain pulling, getting the experience and gold from not only this camp, but the hard camp that spawns to the west. But, you know, the Darkseer Earth Spirit threat makes that difficult. We're actually going to see on mid, though, a big jump in on Moo, comboing up the Earth Spirit spell with the gold tap. Chuan came to save the day and maybe turn around. He just got up mana for telekinesis, and Sumail will be going down. Actually, a really good kill for the Tiny here.
Yeah, that was a really nice rotation. The thing that's kind of weird about that was Night Stalker. He just was able to get a level 6. They popped the darkness. They still opt to go in for the kill. I guess they just like they were going to be able to make it happen before somebody could rotate, and not recognizing the inherent danger that was there of the Chuan teleport. I guess they also saw him bottom, so a little bit of something there too. This has been a very awkward and odd game. They go back in again, a second time onto Moo, cold snap and the kickback. Nicely put there with the ice wall. He's going to get slowed down and will finally fall with the nice rotation. So they got it the second time around after Moo was feeling a little bit confident in himself.
That's probably the earliest you'll ever see an Invoker use an Ice Wall, honestly. That's a spell that we see really underutilized in general from the Arsenal Magus, and the fact is we usually see it in like high defense situations and very little escapes when they don't have any other option. But speaking of out of options, PPD running out life as they just pretty much go in 3v1. Even with the ward, he's not in a really safe position, and now they actually got the Venture Ward on it, giving, it looks like, How a nice little boost to gold.
Yeah, that's sort of, I guess, the danger of throwing the Lion down there in the safe lane. It's not really oh so safe when you've got 3 heroes rotating down, but it is still just a kill on the Lion. If we take a look at the difference in terms of net worth, it's relatively even. Oh, can they find somebody up here? Have been able to jump onto Lei. He is going to end up falling. Sharp Eyes Blaze caught it out before it ended up disappearing, and then Jiaotu Lei is going to get out of there as well as I think that Fear. Yeah, he's got Rolling Boulder in 3. He should be okay as long as he doesn't get silenced. Looking. Yeah, he's out.
Alright, so good kills coming out. 3 assists here on Fear already. 7 minutes into the game. Definitely making the hero pick worth it. This is what you look to do as an Earth Spirit, is just to get involved very early on. Obviously, it's not been flawless. They've had some ganks turned around against them, but in general, I think that EG are just happy to get out of the laning phase with the Midas at a good time, and again, with the Darkseer getting good levels. He's a Universe about to hit 6.
Yeah. Well, and again, Universe has been pretty much untouched throughout this course of the game, but not the highest net worth currently. Is actually 2 Lei. It's moving over here. Fear's going to be able to get their Rolling Boulder slowed down a second time through. This is a gank at nighttime, and it looks like it might even end up working. They don't have Vacuum as of yet, but are going to be able to run in. PPD hits there, and there's the systematic follow-up. Going to be able to get the kill. Nicely done, Wald. And Lycan was actually just killed by the rotation in. Tiny and the Rubik, that really value ward up in the high ground, able to spot them out.
some good coverage. They go for the smoke play, and just a tiny burst combo at this stage is really powerful, getting both the avalanche and toss on a single target. So Moo is going to look to get more involved. I guess he can just go for something that can sustain his mana pool. Sometimes you'll see a straight rush blink, but I don't think he has enough momentum for that. He probably needs to just solidify his mana pool. For now, though, we do see Chuan does have the Invisor and will make his way gradually up top and try to support Hao. They're probably expecting to dive on the Morphling pretty soon. The Spirit is definitely a hero that can kill a Morphling early, and look at that, the smoke, as I'm thinking about it. They're trying to get a good position where if there's anybody who can reinforce the Morphling, they're dead meat.
Interesting. So yeah, the rotation comes on in from Tule. They're not going to quite catch him, unfortunately. Moving over towards the mid lane, they do have the Ion Shell and Fear, looking for a little bit of a bigger prize. Moo is getting pinged out, and they might just be able to find him. Lei is sort of the guardian there, going to be able to spot him. There's the initiation, and immediately going to get silenced up. Oh, but the turnaround is going to be able to not hit the Sunstrike. Turns around last time, but Lycan Wolves are going to finish him. And so far, that's all we're going to be saying at this stage. Hao backs on out, goes to farm some more.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I'm saying that while Hao I'm sure has a good Morphling, it's not like the best Morphling. Like Sylar Morphling would never have left the lane. It would have been pushing, it would have been pressuring the tower, Basilius on, it would have been waving down creeps, and it would have been creating pressure by itself. But Hao is like, oh, I want to use my 330 movement speed, walk down the river, and see if I can contribute, and that just, it doesn't actually create that much value. If you have the replicant, sure, you throw it that direction, but otherwise you stick to your lane, you build up your item pool, and that's what makes the difference.
Well, he is still going to be the top of the net worth. Might have been able to possibly apply a little bit more pressure to that tower, but for now, he's going to have to keep the farm train going. Building towards that Lincoln Sphere, it feels like it has a lot of value in this game. What is sort of the next look here? Do we go for that sort of shotgun style right off the bat, or is it going to be something more along the lines of an early to the stay alive?
I don't think that the mana changed too much here. Obviously, there is the silence from the Earth Spirit, but overall, I think, since you're not up against Invoker, you don't need it.
Sumail goes down to a quick collection of kills, as the Tiny is able to pick that one up. So you think shotgun then, straight into the Scepter, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Coolio. Well, regen rune pinged out. The rotations continue. The sort of embodiment of those tempo control heroes. It's nighttime, and he's jumping over onto Fear. Is going to be able to get Voice Silent Burn out as well. A couple more right clicks might be enough. I think that Fear can get out of here. Had the wand charges. The turnaround is going to be able to kick up
the finger.
Thinking about it, not going to be able to get into range, unfortunately.
Yeah, that Night Stalker just a little bit too quick here at nighttime. Darkness active. Otherwise, the Lycan could have come in the flank and could have created some real issues. But we're going to see this heavy push up top. Now, the Ancient Apparition still splitting experience pretty heavily. Lei, I figured he'd be level 6 by now, but we'll see with the next creep wave he will get it. And that Ice Blast can be really valuable just for checking the pit. If nothing else, you throw it in there occasionally. You know that if Lycan's off the map, that you are able to get some more information.
And while this is happening, the push up top, Arteezy's picked up as Vladimir's offering a little while ago and is going to start going to town at Roshan. Sumail is in here as well with the Ford Spirit, so all of a sudden armor starting to be dropped as well as a lot of different sources of damage. I'm not sure if they're really going to realize this is going on the side of Newbee. Nobody rotating over.
Yeah, they'll definitely look to Ice Blast it, but it's already gone. That's the difference between an Ancient Apparition who gets his solo lane and gets to pull creeps, and an Ancient Apparition who does not. Ice Blast, could it snipe it? Oh, that would have been fun, but no. It's still going to be taking the Rosh, taking the Aegis, and obviously building momentum with that.
Absolutely, and looks to be that Yule Scepter picked up for Sumail and giving him that extra survivability. Still no points in Wex. So you are not kidding at all. He has gone straight on over for those Forge Spirit builds. They're already up and continuing to max on out that Exort before opening up all of his skills. You know, I think that there was that most recent change to Alacrity, which I think debuffed it a little bit. It brought it back a little bit more down to earth, where it's less impactful in those early stages, but still an incredibly strong skill. To you, is the most important skill out of his set right now just going to be those Forge Spirits?
Yeah, I mean, Cold Snap, Forge Spirit's a great combo. You still got a lot of damage coming out from your Exort spells. You see the Meteor and the Sunstrike invoked, and then of course he's going to have the Deafening Blast for the full combo. So at this point, just 1 point in Wex at 10 seems to be the build he wants to go with, and this syncs up pretty well with the Universe starting to get actual points in vacuum.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's the initiation right off the bat. Gonna be a quick kill on a PPD. Moo is invisible. Is gonna start to get right-clicked down a little bit. Obviously no BKB as of yet, but he's gonna turn over into a wolf. They're gonna go after this one a little bit further. Fear is gonna be able to catch them. Sunstrike coming in, and Moo is gonna dive in deep for this one, and even thought about going a bit further onto How, but cancels off the charge, and what a kill.
Really good communication from EG and great Earth Spirit play from Fear. Like the little plays he's been making throughout the game already, just a little actions in lane, moving with the rolling boulder. That's pretty normal stuff you expect for anybody who's played a couple dozen games on the hero. But going in and knowing your real reach with the boulder, rolling boulder combined with the boulder smash, that's when it really gets powerful. And I actually got a comment on Chuan. His very first spell steal here is one of the best you can get at this time in the game. Forward Spirit as soon as Sumail is able to summon both of them at once as well. So Chuan can farm the jungle, he can push the lanes. This is actually a disgusting spell to steal at this stage.
It feels really good too, because a lot of what you're doing here for Chuan, his purpose is to keep lanes pushed out already with Fade Bolt. So if you can double down on that by having those creeps in there to either tank it or push it that much further forward, is really great. Lay in the bottom lane, it's going to get jumped on again. Finger of Death, Sunstrike, everything thrown out. And just like that is able to find the kill on the other side. Meanwhile, Arteezy, Avatos combo is going to dodge the AA blast and might think about turning back around here. He is not afraid to just go right back to farm in. And not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lay's just a little bit off the mark this game. He definitely needs to have a little bit more predictive mentality into what's going to be going on, because obviously EG are a team that's all about movement. They're always moving somewhere to accomplish some objective, and that means that you have to kind of be one step ahead of them in your own right. But he's actually going to be going still for this Midas. I wasn't so sure, because this is, in my mind, a 5-position Ancient Apparition, and because, of course, Chuan is greedy. He's going to be looking for the bigger items, so as a result, Lay is going to be picking up a Midas at one of the latest timings you'll actually see, and I'm not sure how effective it'll actually turn out to be.
Well, we'll see indeed. Not going to be able to get those levels up as quickly as you would want if you got a quick one, but we do have a 3-man smoke rotation heading over towards what looks to be the top lane. The only person up here is Arteezy, and it does look like he's going to actually be heading back down towards the bottom. He's going to get cut off here. How is rotating in as well? There's going to be the replicant immediately. Avatos combo not going to be able to get out of there, as there was just too much damage too quickly, and it's a pretty high prize to be able to take.
Yeah, definitely the key hero. Of course, you're not only getting a kill on the 1-position hero, but you're also actually making it so that you don't have to worry about that lane pressure coming, and you can start to take a 5-man engagement. Like, the Morphling can come to a fight now, or you can just keep split pushing. Either way, you're getting some value out of what you've just accomplished. So we'll see EG kind of starting to regroup on the other lanes. They're no longer information. They're no longer saying, hey, let's take this tower, let's keep this push rolling. It's let's wait for Arteezy to respawn, then we'll get our act back together and start actually making use of the mech advantage that they've acquired.
And this whole time, I mean, Ancient Apparition continuing to get levels. You're not going to be able to probably get to that level 11 before the next push comes in, as he's already back here, but AA Blast is going to be back up and ready to go. Also, Rubik, those Forged Spirits still in full effect and able to create a little bit more problems for them, but they're going to probably be able to take this tower no problem, as Lift has already been taken, and back on out after the fact.
Very important tower kill, because honestly, like, the Morphling has already taken 2 towers for himself, and the Lycan is just now taking his first. Obviously, you can just see the net worth, and Arteezy hungered for a kill.
Yeah. Looks like the rotation coming on in. Going to be a catch on delay. My goodness, they do a lot of damage on those little wolves there, and looking to think even going for a bit further. I just... It does feel like a very odd game so far, where you have Newbee moving around the map and sort of drawing them each and every way. We haven't seen a sort of big team fight yet. Is this sort of what we should expect more of, is ratting around the map? And actually the chase here after PPD ends up getting the Avatos come with a quick kill.
I mean, that answers your question right there. Newbee's game plan is pick and push. They go in, they blink, avalanche toss, get an ice blast on top, that's a kill. Night Stalker gets a void, earn a shadows, and an ice blast on top, that's a kill. All the while, Morphling pushes. It's just essentially they're creating space by finding random kills, wherever they can, and then Hal gets the free opportunity to just keep pushing. Now that he has the Lincoln Sphere, he's even more safe than before. It's going to take a Blink Lion or a very well-used Necronomicon to actually make it so that the Morphling can't escape.
Absolutely. Mechanism has been completed on Darkseer a little while ago. He used it to dissuade Move from going on Arteezy when there was that ancient gank that happened, but haven't really seen it been used to full effect as of yet in a push. I have a feeling that they might try and make this happen, but again, it's just so difficult with all of these great heroes to keep the D-push going. Rubik to me just feels like a very central point in this. The fact that he was able to take that, you know, the spell steal of the Forge Spirits, but always just having that maxed out Fade Bolt too to keep the lanes pushed. Sure. I'm waiting to see something else come out from him as far as the next nighttime engagement, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Shout 2 lane's kind of been underwhelming, to be honest with you. For a Night Stalker off lane, you really want him to be continuing to move forward at nighttime to actually be finding kills. He's 1, 2, and 3 on KDA. It's definitely beneath his quota, but end of the day, you're still a Night Stalker with an Iron Talon. You might not be much of a Night Harmer, but at least during the daytime you're a farmer, and you will be able to get that Ags out at a pretty good time here. He's already halfway done with it.
Very good indeed. And Blink Dagger picked up on the Rubik. As far as net worth goes, the Morphling is definitely up there at the top, but everybody else from the side of EG is catching up. And the most important thing to me is that it does feel like if they end up being able to take a solid team fight, if they end up finding 1 or 2 pickoffs here, you're going to be able to take those towers so quickly with the Lycan and also having those Forge Spirits. Do you think that Necronomicon might end up being that eventual pickup for Invoker here, or is it more worth it to try and go for some of the, like, an Aghanim Sector instead?
Kind of feels all in to me. If you're going for Forge Spirit on multiple heroes, you're looking to end the game right then and there, and I don't think EG are pressured for that. They have a great Darkseer player that's able to make these big setups happen, and they've got the follow-up with so many different things. Accompany that with the fact that Newbee don't want to pick up that many BKBs this game. I mean, they could pick up 3, but they really don't want to. I really do feel like EG still can take this as late as they need to, as long as they maintain map control and they continue to farm up. So, as a whole, I don't think you go for the Necro on Invoker just because that gets you all in on push, and I feel like Sumail wants to kills. The Axe is so much better for that.
Okay, sounds good. They do end up spotting out this smoke as Rubik has been able to steal wolves and sends them back over to the other side. He's just been finding all of the spells that he could possibly want here, and it just feels really good. The tier 1 tower is in their sights. At this point in time for Newbee, do you try and come and defend this, or do you just keep the pressure applied on that top lane and not even respond?
Yeah, I don't think there's much response to their Ice Blast, but whatever. It's not really the most critical of towers at this point in time, and really it's not easy for them to defend this kind of 5-man movement because you've got a Blink and Mech on Darkseer. This guy's level 11 Universe. This is pretty much the trump card for EG's headman. They're going to commit 5 heroes to a lane, and your only real option is to split.
Yeah. Well, the pressure continues as Hal actually gets jumped on here. Is going to be silenced up again, but the Night Stalker's there to keep him alive. A Blast going to come in, and that's going to dissuade them from going any further at all. Hal is actually stuck over the side.
He's actually no TP scroll for 8 seconds, but I don't think the Stone Remnant grants vision there, so it is going to be him walking away, and it's actually going to be Shapeshift stolen, and it's going to be Chuan actually going to get caught inside a big back wall. He'll try to Shapeshift away, but Arteezy already chomps him down, and it looks like that's it, honestly. Just Darkseer and Lycan doing their combo. It's not really a wombo, but certainly enough to get the job done, kill off the support, and walk away from it. So they don't get the Morphling kill, they do get a Rubik. It's just these kind of minor victories.
The other thing is the tier 2 tower up here on the bottom lane brought down very low in health, and they were forced to expend a glyph. So those two things in conjunction, maybe you're able to move over towards this top lane here in a little bit and potentially make a little bit more pressure. And they're going all in, it looks like. Invoker ends up picking up that first level in Necro Book. A little surprising that apparently that maybe it's the Night Stalker picking up his Aghanim Scepter. They're going to feel like they lose out on that map control possibly.
I mean, that's a possibility there. I think more it might play into the fact the mana burn. Like, obviously, you look at EMP if you want to mana burn people, but it's just like a little extra buff up where you're like, okay, well, you have 4 Necronomicons, 2 of them have a manual mana burn, 2 of them have the per on attack mana burn, and the Morphling just doesn't get to play around with his stats nearly as much, so you can really frustrate him. Other than that, of course, Hal synergizes with any creeps you happen to summon, but yeah, I am honestly surprised. I figured that he would go for something that's much more oriented around doing damage through spells.
Well, they're going to move on in and take out Rashawn. This time around, Newbee do realize that it's going on, but I don't know if they're really going to be able to defend against it. Ice Blast has not been thrown out. It looks like this is going on and don't really have any ability to stop it, which is slightly upsetting, but you know what? These things happen. Invoker picks on up the Aegis, and eyes on the prize. Bottom lane is where they're going.
Yeah, and I actually think that this is actually quite telling. Like I said, it's an all-in pickup to go for the Necro, but it's not the most expensive all-in, right? It's just a mild deviation from normal Invoker items. He's got good cash flow right now with a good last hits, KA, and the Midas. So overall, it's just kind of a bit of a segue into the Necro 3, and then he can still go for late-game Invoker items as needed. And more so, I look at Newbee's lineup and I see that they don't really have a great either for the Necro. Oh, mid though, Arteezy.
Gonna drop very low. Oh, it's gonna get killed off with one last adaptive strike and pops under the threshold. They have spotted out how. Again, though, I'm not sure if that's really going to be an easy kill, and he goes for BKB next.
Yeah. So this is essentially responding to all the Necros, responding to the Earth Spirit. This is saying, okay, well, if they're willing to commit to a Veil of Discord, and I'm risking getting hit by like a upgraded Finger of Death, I'm going to be hit by the Necronomicons, I'm going to be hit by the Invoker spells, just go BKB. It's not an item you want to go on Morphlet, but as long as you are able to balance your stats out, you say, okay, well, I have a really defensive item in this BKB, now I go full Agi. Before he was rocking about like 45 base strength, now he's running 7. So as soon as he picks up the BKB, he's much more confident in his survivability, and his stats shift as a result.
Oh my god, looking at the trees. Meanwhile, here comes in to break out of there. Veil is down. They've already hit the meatball. Not sure if they're going to do any more. There's a ton of damage going on top of Move, but how is there as well? Vacuum wall back. The BKB has been popped for how he replicates away. He's jumping on top of PPD. He ends up going down. 2 for 2 so far is the trade, and it looks like it might end at that, as the first BKB charge was used to get a kill, but they lose their Tiny.
That's still really important kills for Newbee to try to get momentum back, but Arteezy didn't exhaust anything. He wasn't involved in that fight, so he's happy to just pop everything, and down goes the tier 2. They even throw things at the tier 3, but I don't think they expect to take this one down. They have 2 heroes in the grave. The Ice Blast will be coming down in 12 seconds. They'll look to take the tier 3 and back off.
Well, they keep on going, at least for the moment. They're not afraid, at least.
Yeah, not much longer though. That meatball, jeez.
Oh, a lot of damage. Deafening blast back at him. Chuan, my man, what are you even doing? Tearing him apart. Such a player, and the Ice Blast is going to follow. They kill off the Lycan. Ooh, buddy.
Grand Magus indeed, man. This is really showing the potential of the Chuan Rick. Just, I mean, he literally just did an Invoker combo, not to the perfect scale that you'd hope because of the cast delays, but
he's a different hero, so we can cut him a little bit of slack.
Exactly, but that is just perfect. And of course, that's just Arteezy. Like, I figured they'd leave the summons to wail on the racks and they just walk away to the heroes, make sure they don't risk anything, but Arteezy sticks around. Arteezy gets absolutely destroyed. Now Chuan gonna have to go for all that stun, and he gets the blink away. Oh my gosh, this guy just knows exactly what to do in every situation in a moment's notice. I'm so glad he's back on a team that really follows through with his endeavors.
Yeah, he's doing a really great job, and clearly has been one of the keys to them being in this game still. It is still going to be a 4,000 net worth lead into the favor of EG. Newbee down, but is ahead in terms of the experience. So that's something to keep in mind there, particularly since several of EG's heroes want to be ahead in experience, particularly that Invoker. I'm really curious over this next couple of minutes how they're going to be able to stand up to this incredible pressure that they're going to be placed under. All these Necro booked, all of the summons, Howl as well, but they do end up still having Howl pushing in on their own tier 3, and he does a heck of a lot of damage at this stage.
Yep, and of course very mobile, used the Replicant to jump right back home. It's very difficult to pin him down, so constantly this top lane is going to be pushed through, but like you're saying, EG have this pressure. They have this net worth advantage. They can utilize it quite effectively, and unless we're seeing more just absolutely jaw-dropping plays from Chuan, I feel like they're going to really struggle dealing with all the Necronomicons, everything that the Darkseer Earth Spirit brings in each individual team fight here. And now they've even got the BOTs on Invoker, which seems like the appropriate response to deal with the Morphling, because you can counter-push the top lane, and then you can TP to mid to aid your teammates.
Well, absolutely. Nighttime has started to fall now, as well as We're going to see if they can make some use of that. Even though he does have those boots of travel, it's still a lot of trouble to be able to find any source of initiation onto a Night Stalker. And if possibly you end up taking that Darkseer out of the fight at the beginning by virtue of silencing him up, although now that he's got the Guardian Greaves, less of an issue. This is still going to be something really, really hard for, I think, Newbee to deal with. And Aegis did just expire, so 5 more minutes before Roche comes back.
Yeah, but it's just right now, like, the Ancient Apparition and the Night Stalker don't really contribute that much. The A did just hit level 11, so just Ice Vortex and Ice Blast, it's still great counter push overall. But if EG goes for the Guardian Greaves and the Pipe before that hits, it still doesn't really put them into shadow range at all. So I think if Universe is ready and quick on the draw, that he can pretty much marginalize the impact of the Ancient Apparition. And while we've been talking up this Aghanim Scepter for Zhao Tulei, what good is it to have vision and map control when you see your opponents and you can't do anything about them? It's just EG that are looking to deathball. Say, okay, you can take the map, you can see everything you want to see, and we're still just gonna, right before your eyes, take your entire base.
Oh, absolutely. It's a real serious problem. It's sort of this brick that's being thrown into Newbee's face right now with all of these summons that they've got, and you would love to be able to make some type of, you think about a Darkseer who's great against these types of D pushes. You throw the wall out, you vacuum them all up, but it looks like we're going to be having that initiation, and they're going to be taking their absolute best shot at it as they will have complete and total information. If they can pick him off at the start. The A-Blast going to come in immediately, Avatos combo, and he is going to go down. They don't have the A-Blast for the rest of this fight, though. They jump over Vacuum Wall, but it was in conjunction with the Tornado going up, so they don't get the full hits out of it, but Mu is still going down. Right clicks down. It does look like Hao is in the middle of everybody trying to right click, but he doesn't do enough damage. He's off on the wrong targets. Lei is going to end up falling, and now Chuan, the man, is going to go down as well. Zhao Tulei is going to fall. The only one to die so far has been the Lion, and my goodness gracious, look at all those creeps.
And yeah, they unleash Swarm. They go in, they're gonna be to take the top two, because the problem with Newbee's lineup is the second they lose a fight, their base is done. Each have way too much pushing power. It's literally one and done for this entire engagement. They're gonna take not only the mid lane, but they're gonna take, I believe, the top lane as well. Could go for either, whatever is most convenient. And since the Morphling's top, they'll go for bot, and that should be pretty clearly in their favor too. Ice Blast could come through, but the Morphling, he doesn't have much right now. He went for a very defensive build. He's banking 4,500 gold, which he has yet to spend. Hao is just not contributing on the level he needs to, and the bottom racks is gone.
It was so freaking much damage. Everybody is dead. There was no buybacks on the side of Newbee. They do lift back Fear, trying to get something for their troubles, but at the end of the day, he's an Earth Spirit. You just lost 3 barracks off the back of that, and there's just not much that you can do about it at this stage in the game. A ton of gold going the direction of EG. We'll take a moment in a second to look at that graph as it just skyrockets on up. AC picked up now as well for Arteezy. Just straight up, he doesn't even go back for the BKB. Is going to be content with what he took, and he might end up being spotted out again, but Avatos combo, he actually does throw him back towards the enemy team, and then he runs off the other direction. Adaptive Strike is going to go through with the waveform, and that's going to be a kill. That being said, he did end up buying out, and oh my god, look at all those Necro Books doing damage. How has to switch back over to his strength form before he goes down. But you mentioned it. I mean, they had the perfect initiation angle that they could have wanted, and they picked off the Lion at the start. It still wasn't enough. Just too much damage.
Yep, I mean, each just have really great 5-man. Even, like, there were a couple of things that really favored Newbee in that fight. Fear didn't do anything with his Magnetize. He threw it on the Tiny, who was at 10% HP, and he didn't spread it to anybody else. So the Magnetize was completely useless. You mentioned the Tornado and the Vac Wall overlap. That only hit on the Tiny and didn't really sync up the way they wanted it to. But it doesn't matter, because just right now, EG's heroes hit their peak, and Newbee's, a lot of them just don't seem to be doing enough. I'm just referencing KDAs because that's usually what Night Stalker brings, is a heavy KDA. And Zhao Tulei is 1, 3, and 6. The Ancient Apparition is Midas and Midas only. The Rubik trying to do the best he can, but it's not a kind of a game where a Rick can really carry his team on his shoulders.
Well, and at this stage in the game, I feel like for EG, you're pretty comfortable just sitting back. Is there any worry for them right now of trying to end the game quickly before Tiny gets big, or do you think that they're just in a really comfortable spot?
I mean, they have the Rax advantage. They can definitely kind of spread things out, but There are a couple things coming into play now that they have to be worried about. How, of course, getting the butterfly is a really big pickup this game. Just being able to dodge attacks, all this physical damage coming out, and stay in the fights more aggressively with an actual pool of agility to work with. Chuan, his plays every fight have been still quite considerable. I mean, even in that last one, the fact that he steals shapeshift and runs, where a normal support would just die to a bunch of Necronomicons. Like, Chuan has been making every single fight count in such incredible ways. So, like, you definitely gotta give respect to him, as well as Hao's current item pool. But all in all, EG are still in a very comfortable spot here, and it's just going to take one more fight for them to cinch the win. And again, this is just the best of one. This tiebreaker does not go to like a full best of 3 or anything. We will see the conclusion of this game decide who is going to upper bracket and lower bracket.
Absolutely. Well, and that is the one nice part about this, is that the loser of this is not necessarily knocked out of the tournament. Both of these squads have put on quite a show. I think that EG probably were expecting themselves to do a little bit better, but again, it's kind of like the end of Star Ladder and people like, is EG, you know, are they losing it, but they got second place at the tournament? It's, you know, they're still qualifying for this. It's still a lot of games left to play. I certainly don't think that this would be anything that people need to worry about. And Newbee, likewise, I think that they've put on a really good show for a qualifying team coming in through one of the spots not invited.
Now here we are, Shiva's Guard coming up for the Darkseer. He's smoking up, he's ready to rock and roll. They got the Roshan pretty much under wraps. Like, they just wait for this replicant to despawn and they can walk right in. We do have the Ice Vortex, and actually Chuan seems quite aware that there is something in the pit that they want to try to jump on, but it's a really tough angle here up on the cliff.
Blue is going to get caught out now. We do have the Blade Bolt going forward onto him. He's doing a lot of damage to Fear. They might be able to finish him off before this fight finishes. Sumail on top of him, right clicks. Moo is starting to fall. Can Universe catch a bit of lag? Sorry about this one, ladies and gentlemen. The buyback by the Lion almost instantaneously. Chuan is going to be able to blink and then TP out of there, but Hao is separated from the herd. He's going to end up going down here if he's not careful. They do manage to finish him off. Lycan with those little Necronomicons is going to be enough. Oh man, just too much damage is going to be coming out from them, as well as the heals from the Guardian Greaves, and it looks like this might be close to about all she wrote as they're getting ready to storm high ground possibly, or at least Arteezy is going to be able to take down the tower up here in the top lane.
Yeah, the bottom lane doesn't really matter at this point. They are going for top, they're going for the tier 3, and that should cinch the win. They don't know it necessarily, but Morphling is actually short of buyback. He buying out for the Morbid Mask and the Butterfly cost him the gold that he needed to buy back here, and they're waiting for the Morphling to buy back, and soon they're going to realize it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Zhao Tulei is going to end up being caught out, just slowed up, as well as hit with the meatball. He's going to end up falling in return. Everybody is going to end up dying. Gem on the ground. It kind of doesn't even matter, though, as the right clicks are abound. There's going to be the Deafening Blast coming out, and no matter how much you want to throw out those spells, it might not be enough. Tiny does end up killing off the Invoker. Vacuum Wall back, though, at 3. They get the stuns onto all of them. Magnetize abound, and Zhao Tulei is going to fall a second time. Tiny, only one left alive. GG, well played, ends up getting called, and your Group A is going to end like this. EG in the 3rd place in the upper bracket. Newbee getting dropped down to the lower bracket. What a game.
Absolutely, a very intense game here. I kind of like the Newbee were trying to bring to the laning phase, but unfortunately the pressure brought by the Darkseer Earth Spirit forced Newbee to react and kind of put them in a position where they had to play very defensively rather than trying to go and guns a-blazing, try to kill off the Invoker, try to get this Morphling rolling. Morphling didn't get out a lot out of the laning stage, and 35 minutes later, it shows. We actually see the Lycan in that last fight just ran at the Morphling